This episode of the Citadel Cafe is brought to you by listeners like you. Visit patreon.com/the Citadel Cafe to find out how you can become a patron and help make this show possible. This is the Citadel Cafe, episode number 504, recorded Thursday, April 23rd, 2026. My name is Joel Duggan, and the Citadel Cafe is where my friends and I hang out to talk about the geeky stuff that we're into. The podcast is available on all of the major podcasting platforms, including YouTube. If you're enjoying the show, please consider subscribing wherever you're listening. Joining me, as usual, is my friend Steven. You can find him at Steven ESC on all of the social media that matters. Hello, sir.
Hello to you. And not that it makes a huge difference. I keep forgetting to mention it, but it's Steven with a PH, for what it's worth. If anybody out there is trying to find Steven with a VESC, I don't know that that guy exists.
I don't know very many people named Steven that use a V, but also prefer to be called Steven. If they have a V in their name, usually they go by Steve.
Right.
Because if you shortened it to Steve, you couldn't just use a PH, right? Like you'd have to change it to a V. Because otherwise people would mispronounce it all the time, right?
Exactly.
I never have that issue with mine. People maybe once in a while will call me Joel because they just don't know how to pronounce it if they're not familiar with the name. But it was a pretty common name when I was growing up. At one point in grade school, there was 2 other Joels in my class. And so I've never had anybody mispronounce my first name or misspell it. My last name, though, people give me Dugan all of the time. And that's because there's some people that spell it the way that I do, but then say it differently, which makes no sense to me because phonetically there's 2 G's. And I think Duggan, like that doesn't seem too far outside of the realm of normal to me. Now, if it was 1 G, I would get it. I would understand that I would be against the grain if I was insisting that it was Duggan. Apparently, though, Duggan, and I've probably told this story on the show before ages ago, but Duggan is from O'Dugan and it's Doughan. And it's an old Irish name.
That's cool.
Yeah.
If you told it on the show before, I completely forget. So it's new to me again, maybe. So
if I remember, it means black or dark. But then the family motto is hope because apparently they're compensating for something. I mean, I got that off of a keychain. It's not like I have no idea the validity of that stuff. It's the kind of novelty stuff when someone says like, oh, here's the Duggan family crest. I'm like, sure. I don't know. That would be cool to look up, though.
True.
If it wasn't for the privacy issues that they had at some point around COVID, I would have loved to have tried like the 23andMe, like the DNA testing where it shows you like where in the world your DNA comes from. That would have been super cool to know.
I'm kind of interested in the idea of the ancestry.com or ancestry.ca idea as well, but it just seems so weird. I'll just upload my entire family history and all my relatives' names and all my kids' names and everything, just to see how it connects to other people who have all done the same thing. And there's something cool about seeing how that would all trace back, but at the same time, that's just feels like a lot of personal information.
I don't know if it was a manual family tree search or if they did like an online family tree thing. But Lee and her mom, Peyton's wife, found a cousin in England and went to go visit them. Like
That's
cool.
Cool.
Yeah, and it wasn't like a distant cousin. It was only like a first or second cousin. They just happened to move abroad and live overseas and that kind of stuff. So I don't know because my family on my mom's side is pretty straightforward, but when you get into my dad's side of the family, it is all over the map and very hard to follow and all over the country. Whereas like my mom's side is just like my grandmother's from New Brunswick, my grandfather's from PEI. Like they were born there, they grew up there, they got married, they moved to Halifax, and here we are. So it wasn't too complicated. And even then, like before that, like I want to say like my great grandparents, who I never met, would have just been from New Brunswick and from Prince Edward Island, respectively, in the same sort of way.
Right.
So I have to confess that this was an odd experience for me, but a very positive one, and an experience that I don't remember feeling anything at all similar. Maybe watching the Olympics, but Earlier this month, as most nerds will know, the Artemis II mission launched, completed, and had a splashdown. I want to say it was Friday. Was it the 10th that they came back? I think it was the 10th. That is when they landed. I think it was a couple weeks ago. Yeah, I think it was the 10th. Anyway, I watched the splashdown live, as did you, I believe.
Yeah. We have a bit of a group chat for people who don't know that. For those of us, we just hang out locally, and somebody in the group chat said, "Hey, re-entry is happening now." So a bunch of us hopped online at the same. So it was basically watched at the same time as you. It was kind of cool.
Yeah, I mean, I made an event out of it. Like, I had gone to the gym, made sure I was going to be home by 7 o'clock my time, which was when the coverage was going to start. And then I made pizza while all the boring stuff was happening. And then at 8 o'clock or 7 o'clock, whenever the actual coverage of the splashdown started, is when I sat down to have dinner and watch this. And it was remarkable to watch this live. And the closest thing I can think of would be watching a gold medal hockey match in the Olympics, maybe a couple years ago. But that's an exciting sporting event. This is like a world event. And the gold medal match is important to Canada and whoever we were playing, probably the US, not the global kind of audience that you had. Because at some point I looked up on the NASA YouTube channel, which is how I watched it, and there was 4 million people watching live.
Oh my goodness.
Which is just wild. And the footage was pretty good. It was in 4K most of the time. And obviously the sources would vary from 4K to not. But the stream was mostly 4K and pretty solid, considering what they were covering. Mm-hmm. But the part that really astounded me was it dawned on me that I am familiar with the footage of the moon landing from the 60s and the 70s, different rocket launches, shuttle landings, that kind of stuff, as news footage. We've all seen that clip of Walter Cronkite tearing up, delivering news of the first lunar landing and all that stuff. We've seen it in clips. We've seen it in movies where they've used it in the background, like period pieces that are set in the 60s and the 70s, that kind of thing. But to watch this live in real time, and it clicked for me when the announcer was talking about the separation between the Integrity capsule and the European space module, saying, yeah, in about a minute, Integrity is going to separate and they're going to fire their jets and they're going to reorient themselves to the right position to then re-enter the Earth's atmosphere. And they switched to a view, and I realized that the view that I was looking at was from the GoPro on the outside of the European space module. And I was like, it's been about a minute. This should happen any minute. And then you see the puffs of air and the jets and they detach them. It's like, that just happened, live. For minus whatever delay it is to get that signal from orbit to ground. But that just happened above us right now. This is happening this minute. Really kind of opened my eyes.
And there's no way they could have gotten that kind of footage back in the day either. So just to be able to experience.
No, it's just bananas. And then, and the rest of the footage was pretty good. I know that they were filming them from far away. And so when you're zooming in on something, it's kind of hard to keep the camera steady, because the farther that you zoom, any breath or minute movement that you have is going to feel like an earthquake to people watching. Mm-hmm. And these things are being filmed from ships in the ocean or helicopters, so it wasn't like it was the steadiest Steadicam, although it was still pretty good. But what got me was, as they came down, they were moving at 25,000 miles an hour or more, and they had to get down to 19 miles per hour at splashdown just 13 minutes later. And the idea of going that fast and not I don't even like flying in a regular airplane at takeoff. And what are you doing? 600 miles an hour when you get up in the air? It's fast, but it's not crazy. This is just stupid. And I can only imagine what that feels like. Is it so fast and so bumpy, or is it so fast and it's so fast it's just so smooth because everything's a bump, it doesn't matter? Are you just shaking because it's just you're moving that quickly? But what got me as they were landing, as they were doing the splashdown, is that they had the parachutes came out, and I knew there was going to be 2 sets. I knew the first set was going to slow them down, and then the second set comes out and does all that kind of stuff. But even as the second set was out, the red ones, the final ones, because of how zoomed in they were on the capsule, I was like, are they slowing down enough? I don't know that they're slowing down enough, because they were low enough at that point that you can see the water and the clouds going by behind them. but because of how zoomed in they are, it felt like they were really moving at a clip. And I'm just like, I don't know if are they supposed to be? Like, no one seems alarmed, but this still feels really fast to me. So, and then all of a sudden they landed. It's like, okay, that makes a lot more sense. But I couldn't believe that not only was it, obviously it's just a fun, successful mission to watch, but the NASA announcer was on saying that they had invited like everybody that worked on this thing into the control center, because not only was everybody okay on it re-entry, but splashdown, according to NASA commentary, was quote unquote right down the middle. Like they have a window of approach where like you're okay if you're this many degrees off or a fraction of a degree off, whatever. Like as long as you're in the window of safe entry, you're good. And Integrity came straight down the middle, landed basically where they said they were going to, exactly when they were going to land, and absolutely textbook landing, said the guy from NASA. I was like, that is ridiculous. When you think about the number of people, the years of work, training, science, engineering, coordination, communication, like all the things that have to go right for this just to happen without anybody dying, without any like mishaps, without any harrowing experiences. I mean, yes, I know the toilet on the on the mission did not work according to how it was supposed to, but like in the grand scheme of things, you're still alive. So to have it go that well, I think was just so cool. And it's mind-boggling to think if everything goes according to plan, that there are going to be more moon missions. There's going to be one every year as far as like 2027, 2028 goes. And I believe in 2028, they're actually going to be landing on the moon for the first time since 1972. So like wild. Just not in our lifetime, just in the next few years, there's going to be boots on the moon. In our lifetime, there's probably going to be a permanent moon base, which has been science fiction until recently.
I'm like, I remember like the feeling of watching it as well. And for me, it was just, I guess, I don't know for me if it was like as exciting as like a hockey game or something like that. I felt like it was possibly one of the most like intense real life things I'd ever experienced. And even then I'm just sitting on my couch, death grip on the armrest. And I think you and I chatted about this a little while ago. And it's just, for me, it was just coming through the atmosphere, and we're going somewhere between 15,000 and 14,000 miles per hour right now. Then we're about to enter the period of silence. I know I'm calling it the wrong thing, but it was the period of non-transmission or something like that, where they're going to go radio silent for blackout, approximately 6 minutes as they barrel through the atmosphere. And they were just, there's the feed, they were talking, and then they go, and now we're entering it, and it just went quiet. And I couldn't believe how tense I was for those 6 minutes. And I was like, they're just talking about things and letting people know about stats and how it's going so far. And at a certain point I was going, that's got to be 6 minutes, right? That's got to be 6 minutes now. And then the announcer was at one point goes, and they're going to be coming out of the 6 minute window of silence or non-transmission any second now. And nobody said anything at first. And he goes, yeah, in any second now. And it felt like, I know it wasn't, but it felt like there was almost 2 more minutes of silence until there was a voice that finally said, yep, and we're through. And I just thought, man, I would have been so stressed in the command center if they were supposed to come out of the silence and 2 whole minutes or however long it was went by and there was nothing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was and my left hand was a little bit sore from literally from the sore from the grip on the armrest there at that point.
I think it was Reed Wiseman that was the one talking through that, and cool as a cucumber on the other side of that 6 minutes. Like, it's like, hey, Houston, we've got you again. Like, yeah, loud and clear. Just like no emotion whatsoever. Because I imagine there's a lot of things they got to get right at that point. But still, like, there was a lot. I didn't watch the video, but I saw a YouTube video headline recently. It was an interview with Canadian astronaut specialist Jeremy Hansen and his wife. And his wife was said that in one of the quotes from this video, in the caption was like the longest 6 minutes of her life. It's like, yeah, I would imagine. For people watching, it was a long 6 minutes. I can't imagine if you had a family member, your spouse is on a.
No kidding.
Like, what do you say when you come back? It's like, so, been to space. Just, what?
Yeah.
Conversation starter, right?
Craft dinner seems so bland now.
that was Jeremy Hansen's first trip. He got his gold wings, I think is what they give you at NASA when you have your first space trip.
Nice.
But everybody else had been up in space. Christina Koch has been like, I think she's got almost a year consecutively at the International Space Station. It's wild.
She was up there for a full year, or just enough time that it amounts to a year?
No, it was like 323 days, like in a row.
Holy smokes.
Yeah. I thought so too. I thought 323 days. That has to be like, 2 missions or 3 missions or something. It's like, nope. Apparently it was just one long stint. Just really, really cool. And I'm really looking forward to, and I'm definitely going to be keeping a closer eye on things as they do it. I've been watching some of these rocket launches on YouTube for a while, because you can watch like the live launch of SpaceX putting some satellites up in the atmosphere. That was cool too, because watching that, they know what they're doing. They're trying to televise this and get a lot of attention on it. So like they send up this rocket, and then inside the rocket there's a camera. So when it opens up the doors to release the satellites into low Earth orbit, like you can watch the satellites like be maneuvered into position and then poof, be shot out the side, just like a sci-fi movie, right? I was like, this is so cool to watch in real time. And then of course the rocket is either splashing down as like it's a loss, or it's one of those rockets that's supposed to like turn vertical and like come in and land safely.
That I think is a new, cool advancement.
Oh my gosh!
Rockets, kind of. There's a period of time where I was watching those, and it would crash, and it was always one of those so close moments. And then the one where it first landed, I was blown away. I mean, you knew it had to happen eventually, but it was just almost a moment of disbelief that they finally pulled it off.
I sent a video to Chad the other day. I don't know whether it wasn't SpaceX. It was a third. It was a third or second company that's getting into the mix. Oh, it's not It's not Blue Sky. That's the name of a social media app, but like it's something along those lines. And not only was the rocket coming back to land, but I don't remember it landing in any kind of like claw. Like sometimes I've watched them where they land and there's like a holder that they kind of land on. Mm-hmm. This was a drone rocket landing on a drone barge in the ocean. So there was no people. It was all remote. And I was like, that is nuts. Like interesting, in a really cool way, especially because like, well, why put people's lives at risk if you're putting up satellites? Like if it doesn't need to be a manned mission in the air, why is there people on the ground that could potentially be hurt, right? Mm-hmm. Like a captain or a crew on a vessel that has to maneuver this thing into the right position. Like just automate the whole thing. Like, and I thought about it for a second. I was like, well, yeah, if you can get a rocket to space and back and land it safely, and you can't auto remote a barge, what are you doing? So there's definitely some really cool advancements. And the thing is, like when you get more companies into that kind of thing, then there's competition and it spurs innovation. And I'm really curious to see what's going to come out of the stuff happening with the moon. I mean, right now it's fancy desktop images, because like some of the images of the moon that they sent back were absolutely amazing.
Oh yeah.
There's a really good video by Hank Green that Alastair sent me that involves like him explaining like what the images are and how they look and why they look the way that they do, and just like 4K big images on my TV, and like being able to see Venus and Mars and stuff behind the moon during the eclipse. Just really, really cool stuff. So I'm all in on space lately. I just have definitely been bitten by the space bug, which is great, because like I think it's as someone that's a longtime science fiction fan, having real space and real science to watch and be entertained by and learn from is just, it's a really cool thing. Well, for the first time in a long while, we have some listener email to share with you. This one comes in from Miles D. Hi, Joel and Stephen. I've just been listening to episode 503. Excellent as always. Thank you, Miles. And a couple of things elbowed my brain. Firstly, as you were talking about the renovation videos, I was wondering if you had come across the UK show Grand Designs. Some of them are extensive renovations, but a lot of them are new, one-off builds and usually very different architecturally. Each show follows the family from start to finish. Some of the designs are gobsmacking, though not always my taste. Secondly, I was interested in both of your thoughts on Affinity. I've only just started to use it. It came from 20 odd years of using the Corel graphics suite, and what limited time I've had to play with Affinity, it was most impressive. I haven't had much time to dig deep, but it seems to be very capable. And thirdly, Light and Magic. I haven't had a chance to see this yet, but if you're a reader, may I recommend Making of Star Wars, the definitive story behind the original film by J.W. Rinsler. It's as detailed as you can get and is largely written from in-depth interviews with a lot of the people involved in getting ILM started. Anyway, keep up the good work, and I'll see you on stream. Regards, Miles. Badges? We don't need those stinking badges, is the sign-off line that Miles included, which is great.
Nice.
One thing that I'm not sure if you're aware of, Stephen, but on the Spawn Chunks, anybody that emails in signs off with a made-up death message from Minecraft.
A made-up death message?
Instead of saying regards Miles, it would be regards. Miles died by being blown up by a creeper because he was too concentrated on writing this email. Or it's like something along those lines.
Okay.
So, and everybody, I don't know who started it, but everyone does it now. Like everyone that writes in has one of these taglines.
So all it took was for you to read it live once.
Yeah, 100%.
On the podcast, and everyone's like, okay.
Yeah, now we have to do that. It's
great. The stakes
great.
are high now.
And it wasn't at all engineered by Johnny or I. It's just something that happens. It's very, very cool.
That's great. Just that sort of organically grown tradition.
I really like the idea of people signing off the Citadel Cafe emails with their favorite movie quotes.
Nice.
I think that's a cool way to do it. Now, the onus is now on Miles. If Miles writes in again, I'm going to put the challenge out there. You can't use the same quote. You got to come up with you can't just have your own quote. You got to come up with a new quote every time.
Every time.
And I don't know. I mean, I think badges, we don't need no stinking badges. I'm pretty sure that's from Indiana Jones.
I thought it was 21 Jump Street, I think my wife quoted that a little while ago.
Maybe.
And
maybe. I'm just thinking Indiana Jones because of the ILM reference, but.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I can't remember now.
But it would be funny if you and I, can or cannot get the movie quote. I would be more likely to get movie quotes that are part of the kind of films that we talk about on the show, like sci-fi and fantasy. So I don't want to limit people, but I would encourage you to use sci-fi and fantasy movie quotes as opposed to random quotes from like horror movies, because I'm never going to get those. Like, I'm not in a million years.
Horror movies.
Yeah,
don't watch those. Yeah,
I don't watch those, so I'm not gonna. If you want to, if you don't want me to go at the end of your quote, then like choose a genre that we're more than likely to be familiar with. But I feel like there's a lot of quotable lines from sci-fi films. So sci-fi and fantasy, the genres that we talk about on the show. But thanks very much, Miles. I appreciate the email. Always good to hear from listeners. I'm glad that you enjoy the show. And I am not familiar with Grand Designs, and I may or may not be checking it out. It may or may not be for me. I find that sometimes if they're cringe-worthy, gobsmacking renovations, it might be enough for me to just be like, nope, not for me. Like I just watching somebody ruin a perfectly good house because they've got terrible taste, or doing something really kitschy might not be something I want to watch. I'm not a big reality show fan. That's the thing. The vignettes that I was watching on YouTube about the mid-century modern stuff, they were like architects and they were like documentary style as opposed to like reality TV style. So we'll have to see. But I do like a good reno video because they're fun.
And then for me, in terms of the, I haven't seen Grand Designs either, but I can speak to the second question about Affinity. I've been using it quite a bit. So I've been a graphic designer, like it's like you for like 20 plus years or whatever. And I learned on the Adobe Creative Suite. So I've been doing that using that since about 1996 when I was a student. So a little while. And but without getting into too much detail, I used to use the computer that I had in front of me at home here to do freelance, but then COVID happened. I didn't have enough room for the work computer and my home computer, so I just used the work one, did freelance using that. Found out I'm not allowed to do that, and so I've had to switch over to Affinity so that I can avoid using work-related stuff. So I'm trying to do everything right, and so I've been actually trying to design my own font, playing around with logo, like just fun little logo design and letter shapes and things like that. So I've been intentionally trying to get into very detailed, kind of vector design type tasks that I would normally do in Illustrator, and I'm trying to push it to see, where is it that Affinity doesn't quite live up to the Adobe applications I use to date. I haven't had a chance to play with the Pixel like the photo manipulation version of the app yet. I've played around with the InDesign version, or like the publisher version, and I'm pretty impressed so far. I haven't had a chance to push that through the paces, but I've been really focusing on the vector functionality in the application, and I've been far more impressed than I thought it was going to be.
I haven't really messed with Affinity 3, but I've been messing with Affinity Photo for quite some time. That's how I do the show art for the Citadel Cafe and the Spawn Chunks every week. And for the little bit of graphic and photo manipulation that I do, I say photo manipulation, it's screenshot manipulation for those images. I like it. I have only not tried Affinity 3 for that regularly because it would involve not rebuilding the template, but there's just a few things that I'd want to iron out. And I'm sure it's capable, but I'm not a fan of the interface on Affinity 3 so far. Like I find that all the UI is smaller in a slightly different place. And what happens is like, you spend a couple hours recording a podcast, you do another 45 minutes on the show notes. And then the last thing that you got to do before you hit publish is finish the show art. And I want that show art done in 5 minutes. Like I'm ready to be done. Right. And so I go with the software that I know how to use and know how to get it done in 5 minutes, where I find that right now I struggle with Affinity 3 to get it done in a reasonable amount of time. But there's some changes happening behind the scenes in the podcasts. And so I'm using one of those projects to kind of get used to Affinity and go from there. So nice. I do plan on getting into it. And in the meantime, I think you and I were discussing this previously. I wanted to go chill at a cafe, maybe mess around with Affinity. And there's no current mobile iPad version for Affinity 3. However, I noticed the other day that I do still have the Affinity suite on my iPad. So like I've got the 3 separate apps from it's not called Affinity 2, I don't think, but like the Affinity photo, Affinity design, and Affinity, I don't remember what they called their layout one, but those are on my iPad, so I could mess with those
drawing a blank,
in the meantime. Yeah,
and that's one of the things I'm hoping for. It's like I think the iPad version is supposed to come out this year, I think they said, and cool. I haven't worked on my Webtoon in far too long, and that's one of the things I'm looking forward to. I'm really hoping that, I like Procreate. Sorry, I realize we're getting off topic here, but I like Procreate, but it's very much you open an image and you work on that image, and if you want to work on like panel 2 of a Webtoon, then you have to close one, go to the other one, open it, and so it's just copying and pasting resources and things back and forth between the frames. It's just a little bit tedious. So I'm really hoping that there's multiple, like the multi-artboard functionality in Affinity when it comes to the iPad, because to be able to have like even a simple 4-panel or 6-panel cartoon and have all of them up at the same time, and then when you export it, it's going to export it as those 6 different JPEGs, I think will be just huge time saving and just personally a game changer. So yeah, I'm excited to see what comes, and I'm just continue to be blown away by the fact that it's free.
I believe the Affinity suite for iPad may now be free. I'm seeing some mixed feedback online. I mean, that's a Reddit post, so take that with a grain of salt. I don't have time to click on it and read it right now. I was just looking up the names. It is Affinity Designer 2, Affinity Photo 2, and Affinity Publisher 2 is the layout one.
Publisher, right.
Yeah, for the mobile for iPad. And if you're curious, people out there, Affinity, the current app is actually free. There's a paid subscription for Canva, which unlocks some extra stuff in there, but it's all the AI stuff. So you can really use it for free without any issues. And there was something else I got in my email recently that was related to Affinity, and it was they bought, or it was part of your Affinity free thing. And I don't remember what the software was, but it was related to design.
Literally trying to find it before we started recording. I thought it might have been either video editing or a motion graphics replacement. I think it might have been a motion graphics replacement, but I couldn't find the name of it before we started.
Cavalry.
Cavalry?
Cavalry. Cavalry.
Oh, yeah. So they're following the same URL structure where it's something.studio. So it's cavalry.studio, just like Affinity is affinity.studio. So that's pretty cool.
So we're going to move on to what we've been watching, and I'm going to kick us off with Daredevil Born Again Season 2, which I think you've been watching as well, right?
Exactly. I think we're probably right around the same point.
Have you watched this week's? Have you watched Tuesday's episode?
I started it. It was it's very like the acting and it's very good so far, but we only got about 15 minutes into it, and it's been a week of remember we're just running on fumes in our household right now for just
Sure.
various reasons, and so we were just 15 minutes in and thought, you know what, just not tonight.
Yeah, I haven't watched it because I can never remember when it comes out. It comes out on Tuesdays. It's released on Tuesdays. There are 6 episodes as of this recording. We will not get into too many spoilers. I want to have a final verdict when the whole season is done, because I feel like it's been a slow burn and they're certain to build up to stuff now. And I saw the thumbnail for episode 6. I kind of wish that Disney wouldn't spoil their episodes in thumbnails. It drives me crazy. They put like the coolest scene in the thumbnail on Disney Plus, and it drives me nuts. Anyway, I'm going to watch it, but I do tend to get to these things on like a Friday evening, which is difficult now because one of my other favorite shows, Your Friends and Neighbors, is now on season 2, and that comes out on Disney, not on Disney, on Apple on Fridays. Whereas my Friday show used to be Shrinking, and that comes out on Thursdays, but I would just like forget about it / just I'll save it for tomorrow and just watch it on Fridays. But I forget that Born Again comes out on Tuesdays. And I think one of the reasons, and again, to your point, the acting as per usual in these series is stellar. Like everybody in the cast is really, really good. There's no one that's phoning it in. Nothing is too weird or awkward. I just wish I could say the same thing about the writing.
Yeah.
The writing this season, and it's not bad. It's just more of the same. And every episode tends to be all one hushed tone of terror. Like there's no reprieve. There's an action sequence, but it's just seems to be this constant, you're under the thumb constantly, which I mean, maybe by intention, because that's kind of the theme right now. Because the way that things are happening in New York, and this isn't a spoiler because I think they started this last season, it hits pretty close to home for Americans, I imagine, because Fisk's anti-vigilante task force is very much resembling of ICE in the US and what ICE is doing in the US. And we won't get into the politics of it, but like it feels very, very similar to what I see on the news. And it's only been an episode, maybe 2, where they've thrown in some twists where I was like, I wasn't expecting that. Okay, you have my attention. It's been slow going for those, but they did add a big twist. But then the twist that they added, I don't know that it warranted an episode cliffhanger. Like they've been dragging this on for like an episode and a half. I'm just like, I mean, like, sure, like it's a big event, but like I don't know that I needed it to also be a slow burn. I feel like when you want to do something dramatic, those things should happen quickly, as opposed to like at the same slow pace of the rest of the show. It's an odd pace for TV show, I have to say.
I agree with that. I find that it almost feels like it's been the same. I've been enjoying it because I really overall love the Daredevil series, but this is very much almost felt like a really long episode where some people are in hiding, and they've been in hiding since the very beginning, and this, the bad thing is advancing, and it's been kind of based on the initial bad thing that happened and just keeps slowly moving. I don't know, it just feels like there's been not really any change in the stakes. I should say, not much change throughout the entire thing, so it's just there's little things that are moving forward, but the big main storyline just seems to be stalled or some. It's kind of like hanging there. This is going to be resolved at some point, but it just doesn't seem to move forward. So I don't know. So I see what you're saying about the writing.
You can feel the pressure. Like it's not a step forward. It's just leaning, and it's leaning, and it's leaning, and it's leaning, and you're waiting for it to fall over. Like you're waiting for something to capsize and happen. And and every episode is just like, not quite there. And it does weigh on you like as a viewer. But again, like that, if it's by intention, then they're doing it well. I just don't necessarily think it's a great experience as a viewer. And then when you have more action, or you have more robust, a little bit of that pressure relieved with, say, like a villain like Deadshot, he's a one-trick pony. Whenever he opens his mouth, whenever he is in a fight, it's the same. He's throwing stuff, hitting people between the eyes, It's like a spoon or a thumbtack, or like it doesn't matter what it is. He's doing his Deadshot thing. And whenever he talks, like he just repeats himself. There's zero depth to his character whatsoever. So he's uninteresting. And the first time you see a fight, you're like, oh, that was cool. But then like the more and more, you see it, you just don't get it. And he seems like he's obviously off his rocker, but then he's trying to justify killing Foggy, which was that was season 1 for people that don't know.
Yeah.
Not a spoiler because that's a year old. Like if you didn't know that, where were you? But
shame on you.
Yeah. But so that's not news this season. And it's almost as if they're trying to make you pity him when like your audience is never going to flip on this guy. No. I mean, like he's the one that pulled the trigger.
As far as characters go,
yeah.
Foggy's, I'd say, fairly beloved. Like,
yeah, 100%.
For those who've been watching since the beginning of the Netflix series, Foggy's awesome. And so to have him, die in the first moments of the first episode of the new series was just, I wasn't sure what they were going to do with the series at that point because I was so shocked. So yeah.
And that's the kind of shock we're not getting this season.
Yeah, agreed.
Right. Now, I'm not saying I want another beloved character to die, but even the introduced characters of season 2 seem to be out of harm's way when realistically you think that they should be meeting their untimely end a lot faster, right?
Mm-hmm.
All that said, there are still some positives. The cinematography, the action sequences, I really like Daredevil's new suit. I like how he's dealing with people. I like kind of what he's standing for. There is some growth with watching Matt talk to Deadshot and try to like, there's some interactions that they have where you're like, man, Matt really is at the edge here. Like you can see the rage bubbling and he's holding it back because he's trying to be above it all. And that I thought was interesting. But that's the last 5 minutes of the last episode. Yeah. Well, not the last 5 minutes. I would say it's all the sequences where Deadshot and Daredevil are talking with one another in the last half of maybe episode 5. And that's where you're like, okay, this is going in a different direction than I thought. But that's a long way from episode 1. And I kind of feel like a lot of the other characters, like I love seeing Karen and Matt working together, but Karen's a broken record this season.
Oh yeah, she's that was going to be my next comment. They are wasting her as a character,
100%,
which really annoys me.
Yeah, because she's such a talented actor. I really like her. Yeah,
and they keep showing her like physically training. It's like she's getting ready for a fight, but she's been getting ready for a fight since episode 1 of the season. Yes. And like, come on, it's like, and the way they've been showing it, it looks like she's been training for a while. So it's not like she just started training in episode 1. She's using one of those martial art wooden dummies and seems, decently capable using it and would be able to crack some heads. And so, if you're going to show her able to do this, let's see her use it.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like they're building up to something, but I don't want all of the
past halfway, man.
Yeah, I don't want all of the action to happen in the last episode or 2, especially if there's going to be another cliffhanger at the end of episode 8, which is slated for May 5th for people that are wondering. So it's only an 8 episode season, which is good. Like I don't want it to drag on for 13 or 15 or 10. Like if they're going to keep it concise, that's good. But it's funny because of the people that I follow online and the things that I watch, I get different snippets from different podcasts and things with a lot of the actors. And Deborah Ann Wall, who plays Karen, was on a podcast clip on Instagram or something, and she was talking about all the different roles that she was in, and I knew this, of course, because I loved the show, at least when it was first on. But she was in True Blood. That's how I knew her as an actor. Was like that was my introduction to her as an actor, and she's really good in that. And it's a really, like to your point, it's a nuanced character. It's really complicated, and she does really well with it, and as do many people in that show. That show has a lot of complicated characters, and I want to go back and watch it. Like I think it was on HBO, maybe. So I don't have access to it right now. Yeah, I know, right? But like, if there's ever an opportunity, with Netflix buying Warner Brothers, or I don't remember who was the actual top down, like who owns True Blood, but like if that ever gets out there on the streaming services that I have, like, man, I would rewatch that, because I've only ever seen it once through when it was actually on TV. So yeah, it's It's worth it for sure. And again, like that reminded me of like how talented she is and how much I would like to see her used more in Daredevil Born Again. I know that there's always team ups in comics, and I'm not saying the Defenders was the best, but it was still fun. And I feel like real world adaptations of some of these characters, like Daredevil, are better as lone underdogs, at least most of the time. Like I get it, like some of your friends, like Karen and Foggy, are gonna find out who you are, and that's always fun. Like I like those kind of realizations in superhero stories. But I don't necessarily need Karen and the Swordsman and whoever this new White Tiger character is and somebody else. Like I don't need all these people teaming up with Daredevil, because he's the only one with powers, and he's the only one that's really capable of like defending himself at the level of threat that's coming at them. I understand that sometimes it's good to have teams, but I feel like because Daredevil is the only one that can really hold his own against the threats that Fisk is putting out there, that you just feel like these people are, one, not really capable, and two, are just going to be weaknesses for him. Because if he has to save this teenage kid that thinks she's White Tiger, or the I can't remember the guy's name from Hawkeye that is like the swordsman, which is also, again, from the comics. Maybe it's cool in the comics. It's pretty dumb. Like in a real world situation, there's a guy that fences as a superhero. Really? You're going to push this into the, like, because Daredevil is arguably one of the coolest Marvel villains, and you're giving him a fencing sidekick? Like, come on, guys.
Well, there is part of me that wonders, like, if they're maintaining these characters in the storyline because they're going to plan some sort of carryover, because the young girl who's the White Tiger now, she does have some abilities because she's got that amulet.
Yeah.
And they are setting up a Young Avengers with Kate Bishop, with Ms. Marvel, and so it's possible that they're kind of having a young, it basically
could be, yeah,
introducing a young White Tiger literally so they could carry her over to be in Young Avengers at some point. So
yeah.
And the swordsman is actually Kate Bishop's dad, so I don't know. And there's also the new Spider-Man movie coming out that has the hand in it, like the clan from Daredevil. So I don't know what, I feel like they're building things to expand beyond the Daredevil world as well, which for better or for worse, I think that's what they're doing.
On one hand, like, I think, sure, like that could be possible and doable, but the other hand, I look at Ironheart and go, please don't. Just
I know,
because it's so rushed, right? And that's what happens when you don't have enough character development. Like we don't have 2 seasons of White Tiger as part of the Daredevil crew before they spin off one of their own. We have like 2 episodes. Like this, her turning into White Tiger just feels so forced to me. Like it really, I understand that it was her uncle, maybe that was the original White Tiger, but it feels like moments ago, and nothing about her personally says, oh yeah, we've seen her fight before. She seems like a good superhero. Nope. Like she's just a kid. Like and I'm not saying that a kid wouldn't be capable if they could fight, but we don't know that she could fight. They've told us nothing about her. And next thing you know, she's just like showing up at crime scenes with Karen and Daredevil. It's like, oh, let me help. And they're like, who are you? Like, what? What's going on? Yeah, it's wild. The other thing I find really odd is that you've got people like, I can't remember her name that plays White Tiger, but there's the White Tiger kid, and then the swordsman, and they're seeing Daredevil, and he's not in the shadows. He's got a beard and he's got his mask on, but like there's no effort for him to disguise his voice or anything like that. And the White Tiger kid, she dealt with Matt Murdock all the time as a lawyer.
Yeah,
she was the reason that he found out about White Tiger, and that's the reason he put the hood back on. And so I have a hard time believing that just putting your hand over your eyes and she doesn't recognize his voice at all.
Yeah, I think there's
the blind thing is a good way to say, like, well, how could he? He's blind, right? Like I get that.
Exactly.
It does feel odd because like it's not like they're living in a world where there's no superpowers, right? Like the Avengers happened in New York. Everybody knows about Thor and they know about Captain America. So I don't know. I feel like having this many people on the team this close to Daredevil that still don't know that Daredevil is Matt Murdock, I find odd. But then again, I'd have to go back and rewatch the Defenders because I feel like that was the thing where like they all took their masks off or something, and everybody's like, wait a minute, what? Like it just I know that they kind of made a deal about that in the Defenders, but there's only a couple of characters in the Defenders that I actually liked, so like I didn't really pay that close of attention. I certainly didn't rewatch it. So I mean, I'm going to be finishing Daredevil. That's one thing I'm going to be doing. It's certainly watchable. Like I feel like I've been complaining about it, but it is good, and it is an interesting development now that we're at like episode 5. I'm really curious to see where 6 goes now that I know how 5 ended. So it's just not peak Daredevil for me, I think is the verdict. Like it's good. It's just not as good, I think, as it could be.
Exactly.
But certainly watchable. And if you're a fan of this stuff, and if you're a fan of the comics, you're probably going to get more out of it than I do, because I've never read the Daredevil comics.
And if you've been a fan of the show so far, it's still going to be really great, really good. I mean, the characters are the same, like they're all great, but it's just, as we said, and we've done this before. Joel and I do this when there's a show that's been so good, or it's so good and we love it a lot, and then it's just not living up to expectations one season, or it's just not there. We tend to pick it apart a lot more than shows that are just bad.
Yeah.
Because those ones we just go, it's bad. But these ones, it's like, oh, you could be so, like, you're almost there. And we just list off all the reasons why it's not quite there.
Yeah. So moving on, we've got animation to talk about. Do you want to go? Do you want to go first? Because I've not seen any of the Invincible series past season 1. I'm not even sure if I finished season 1.
Sure. I mean, you can talk about it briefly, because it's one of those shows that's like, it's so close to the end. Actually, the last episode I think came out yesterday, but I just didn't have a chance to watch it for this season anyway. And I think there's going to be one more series. I've been a fan of the show since it started. I started watching it and then went, this seems interesting. And then, as I tend to do sometimes, I went and went and read the entire comic book series, because it had been released already. So there was no me waiting around for stuff to come out. So I essentially just devoured it through just getting books out at the library, because they had the entire thing. And yeah, they're in season 4 now. So it's going to be hard to talk. We're close to the end of it, so it's going to be hard to talk about elements of it without at least some spoilers. So if you haven't seen any of it yet, then just fair warning. But I guess just for those who haven't seen it, Invincible follows a character named Mark Grayson, who is the main character, Invincible, and he's half human and half Viltrumite, basically superhero of Earth. And his father plays Omni-Man. He's a full Viltrumite. And basically, his presence in the storyline is sort of the equivalent of Clark Kent's parents in James Gunn's recent Superman movie, where, he thought his parents were all loving and stuff like that, but they were actually out to conquer Earth and essentially take it over. And then that's what Omni-Man was about. So, thought to be a good guy, savior of Earth, actually a bad guy trying to take it over. And this season's been sort of like the story arc where he's, unfortunately, after killing thousands and thousands and thousands of people and beings across multiple planets, he's like, oh, geez, maybe this isn't the right way to do things. And it comes from like Mark basically resisted helping his father in terms of actually conquering the Earth. And so his father beat the tar out of him, and then he felt bad about doing that and flew off and had a change of heart and blah, blah, blah. So this whole season is essentially the attempted redemption arc for Omni-Man, even though nobody wants anything to do with them, because it's so hard to come back from the level of death and destruction that he caused over, the 500 years that he's been alive, kind of thing. But he's still trying. He realizes he's not going to get through to people, but he's still at least decided to side with the humans to take down the Viltrumites, because he's, gotten to the point where he realized that his people are just this band of lunatic genocidal maniacs, and that they just frankly need to be stopped. So even though nobody wants anything to do with him, he's on the good guys team now. So it's been really interesting. I feel like they do a good job of, I guess, playing the back and forth between he's doing good and people not wanting to even talk to him, and then eventually warming up to him. It's like nobody's fully on board with him as the good guy yet, but they're very grateful to have him around, and they realize that they need him. So even though they don't fully trust him, they have to trust him if they have a chance of winning this war. So I'm just really enjoying it. It's sometimes more violent than I would like it to be. I don't like the gore of the violence, but I appreciate the fact that, like in almost every Superman movie or every Marvel movie, just when injuries happen, there's so many times when people would just be snuffed out of existence, but they just never do that, and because they're PG movies and things like that, and have these massive explosions, and there's rarely ever any sense of, what's the word, just
fallout.
Yeah, there's no fallout, and these people are super beings, and there are buildings being crushed, and like even Superman, goodness, just doing everything he could to save everybody, including the tiny little squirrel. Just like that, just so unnecessarily over the top. And I don't like people. I think I said this previously. I don't like people getting injured or seeing them getting injured, but that's the reality of what would happen when you just have ridiculously powerful beings that have to battle against each other. So I do appreciate that about it. Don't necessarily need to see all of the gore when it happens, but there's something I appreciate about them at least addressing that's what would happen.
Yeah, well, that was the plot of Batman v Superman, right? It was like the fallout from the fight in Metropolis and buildings falling down and people dying. And I mean, they didn't show anything gory because it was, I don't remember what the rating was in Batman v Superman. It might have been R. It might not have been. I don't know. But that whole idea is like why Bruce Wayne is so up against Superman is because like he lost people. Like there was a Wayne Enterprises building that toppled in Metropolis, and there was people inside that died and people on the ground that died. And there was that, I can't remember, I think he was a security guard or something, but he had his legs broken, and then he's in the wheelchair later on, and he's the one that has the bomb inside the wheelchair that blows up in the Senate office or the Senate hearing building. And like there's that whole idea of superheroes being responsible for like the fallouts of their engagements is the core of Batman v Superman.
And I think in the Marvel movies, they didn't really, in my mind, they just didn't even address it at all until
Civil War.
Ultron, like with the Sokovia, it's basically resulted in the Sokovia Accord.
Ultron was the thing that happened, but then they started the Sokovia Accords, and those became a thing that was communicated to the audience in Captain America Civil War. That was because that's the thing that split up Tony and Captain Rogers.
Yeah, but that was I guess in my mind that's what came out of Ultron basically lifting a country off the ground and was going to drop it back down and having a bunch of people get killed and stuff like that. So
that and T'Challa, King T'Challa dying at the bombing.
Yeah. But it seemed like in Marvel, as much as I like the Marvel the first era of Marvel movies, we'll say, it just felt like there was never, I don't know, there was no, there's a word in English that I cannot find right now.
Consequences.
Yeah, no consequences. Yeah, maybe that's it. There wasn't anything dire, no consequences to all of the destruction they were doing. It felt until like the Age of Ultron sort of encounter, and I find Invincible does a good job of that.
I feel like the two big teams that deal with it in the comics or the cartoons, it's the Justice League and the Avengers, and the kind of get out of jail free card that they have is like there's Tony Stark, billionaire, Bruce Wayne, billionaire. And what happens is like, I mean, people know that Tony Stark is Iron Man, but they don't know that Bruce Wayne is Batman. But either way, whenever the Justice League or the Avengers have a big scuffle and they destroy a place, then like Bruce Wayne and or Tony Stark respectively come in and fix the problem. Like they buy the bank, or they fix the building, or they help everybody out that lost a home, or like whatever it is that they do. There's support there, whether it's attached to the Avengers through Tony Stark or not at all attached, but still very nice to have via Bruce Wayne. Like that's kind of how they right that wrong. But like I agree with you, they don't touch on it. It's like an afterthought. It's like, oh no, don't worry about that. Bruce Wayne will fix it, right? Like it's just, we'll throw money at it. Don't worry about it. It'll be fine. Yeah, like I always have a little bit of a weird reaction to people that want like super realistic physics in their superheroes. That's why I didn't like The Boys. You get the super speed guy that like runs through a girlfriend or something and like turns her into powder. I was like, that is disgusting. And also, like, sure, like, while it is technically realistic, like, I would also want a superhero that, oh, I don't know, could control his power. Like, I just, like the Flash is just as fast, but he can also stop on a dime and like say like, "Ooh, sorry, didn't see you there," and then like run around you. You just probably say something funny, steal your ice cream, and run away. Right? I feel like there's a certain level of, I don't know, just respect to the genre that some of those shows don't pay. Like, I understand that Invincible is a fan favorite, and I know people like the comics, but I like you, I did not like the excessive violence, and you know just as well as the audience knows that I'm not a fan of anti-heroes, and so Omni-Man is just like not my thing at all. Like, I don't. It's too authoritarian for me. I need someone in the show to like latch onto morally, which I guess Mark would be in Invincible.
Yeah, he goes through a lot of struggling just because of who his father is, and he's just carrying the guilt of all of that, and the fact that when he had a confrontation with his father's doing the whole, basically punching him around and throwing him into buildings and stuff. So a ton of people died because Mark was the projectile that his father was throwing around. So he's carrying a lot of that with him. But
right,
yeah, he's the not that there is any like Captain America type true north super good guy character in this, because Mark has his struggles for sure, but he would be the good guy. He's a really solid character, and he's voiced by Stephen Wen, I think it is, from Beef, if you've seen it, or from Walking Dead.
Oh yeah, Walking Dead. I remember him from Walking Dead.
Yeah, or Steve Palchuk from from Troll Hunters back in the day. Yeah, he was really good in that as a voice actor. But
I remember being so surprised that he was Palchuk. I was like, whoa, wait, what? Completely out of left
and then he was
field.
also Keith from Voltron, which was like I felt a really strong voice acting as well, but just like very, very different. So he's a very talented guy. So
yeah,
he really nails the voice acting for Mark in this. Really good.
Well, speaking of good voice acting, I have been watching Star Wars Maul, Shadow Lord, which I had let everyone know that was going to be on my radar. And I have watched all of season 1 so far, episodes 1 through 6. There are 10 episodes total, with the finale set to premiere on May 4th, which is Star Wars Day. Also a little annoying, because in order to watch the finale of both Daredevil and Maul in the first week of May, I have to sub for the whole month to watch those. I'm sure that's not an accident, Disney. I am well aware. So I'll be looking through some of the Disney Hulu archives to see what else I can watch. There are a couple things on my list. I've got like Zootopia 2, and there's a couple of other things that I want to see. And there might be more. I have to look up to see when. I think there's more Star Wars Visions coming out. I think that's going to be around May 4th. Like, there's a whole Star Wars release thing happening in May. So hopefully there'll be some more things to watch. Maybe that'll be a good opportunity for Whiskey and Star Wars in May. That could be fun too. I will let you know that you don't really need to have any prerequisite viewing to enjoy Shadow Lord. They do bring you up to speed with kind of characters talking back and forth about the situations. Obviously, it's a little bit better if you've seen some of Clone Wars. And certainly, I feel like folks that know the events of Episode 3, the film, will know a little bit more. Certainly, Episode 1, to be familiar with who Darth Maul is in the first place. For folks that don't know, in Episode 1, Darth Maul is defeated by Obi-Wan Kenobi. He's cut in half, but doesn't die. They actually brought him back in the Clone Wars as a antagonist for a chunk of those seasons. And he's mechanical from the waist down, similar to like Darth Vader having like mechanical legs and a mechanical arm. So Maul has got a mechanical lower half. And he's voiced by Sam Witwer, and has been since the character was animated. Like, Witwer has been the voice and I want to say a heavy influence on Maul's character as well. And he's a lot more nuanced in the cartoons. He's softer spoken, still just as deadly, but definitely has a mental twist to him that you don't get in Episode 1. He's basically just like a hired sword in Episode 1. There's not very much depth to him.
Yeah.
And they really flesh him out in the Clone Wars, and continue to do so in Shadow Lord, which is really, really cool. It's also very pretty. And I know that you've seen The Bad Batch, and this is like a mix of that Clone Wars but more heavily Bad Batch style of animation, but with a bit more arcane thrown in with regards to like the painterly textures. Like you can really see the brush strokes on everything, which is really cool.
Especially when they do close-ups.
Yeah. But then wide shots, because the backgrounds are like matte paintings. So it's really funny that you and I were talking about the ILM Light and Magic documentary last episode on the show, because there are scenes where obviously they're using some sort of digital effect. I don't think they're actual digital paintings. I think that's probably like a CG background that's got like some sort of filter on it. But when you get far enough away from camera in this, it's a painting. It's not a CG rendered scene. So when you're looking at a big cityscape, the buildings in the midground and the foreground are CG buildings. There's blinking lights, maybe some animation or something on them. But as you get farther away, like the buildings on the horizon are painted. And it's really cool. It definitely has more of an artistic vibe to it in that way, which I really, really like. The animation is mostly really good. And I say that with one thing that sticks out to me. Now, as a former animator, it sticks out to me. It might not stick out to everybody, but the lightsaber fights are fast and often in the dark, shadowy underworld, as is like most of the settings for the show. And they're really quite dramatic, especially with like the Govee lights that I have on my TV, and you get like a red lightsaber going by and a green lightsaber going by. Like the whole room just changes color. It's absolutely cool. But the running animations feel really stiff. Everything is robotic. When there's running happening, everybody runs the same. It doesn't matter what body type they have. Everybody runs the same. It's really, really rough.
The one animation cycle they just give everyone.
Yeah, they got to cut a corner somewhere, because these things take a long time to make, and everything else when you're in like a fight sequence or a subtle acting sequence, like everything else is custom. There's not a lot of like robotic movements unless it's an actual robot where it makes sense, because there's droids in Star Wars, and all the cops in this they have like droid kind of ride along characters. Like instead of having a buddy cop movie, it's like a buddy and his droid sort of deal. Right. So that's pretty cool. So I'll forgive the running cycles for the upsides of everything else, because
this time,
oh look, the animation of the lightsaber fights, it's so fast. Like it might even be faster than the prequels in terms of like the height of the lightsaber fights. Like it's really, really well done. So Maul, who is seeking revenge against both the Empire, specifically Darth Sidious, and the Shadow Collective, which is a bunch of criminals that he had united during the Clone Wars, but as far as I can remember, double-crossed him. So he's basically seeking revenge on the enemies of everybody, but he's still a bad guy, right? So he's still not doing it in any kind of like fair or just way. He just wants to kill people and will kill anybody that gets in his way. And in order to achieve his goals, he also has to like rob and steal and like take control of crime syndicates. And like the cops, for the lack of a better word, are trying to stop all of the crime. It doesn't matter whether the evil Sith Lord is trying to kill the criminals. It's still like, we want to put the criminals in jail, not cut them in half, right? There's a line that people draw. And he's also looking for an apprentice, because again, he wants to exact his revenge on his former master, but at the same time, he's still a Sith. Like there's the rule of two. He wants to pass on what he's learned. He sees a flaw. I'd have to go back and figure out some talking points from the Clone Wars, but I feel like Maul, because he was cast aside by the Sith, I feel like he has like this disdain for both Sith and Jedi. So even though he's evil, he tends to be like evil gray as opposed to like evil for evil's sake. There's a rhyme to his reason, and he talks a lot about it, which is really cool. And I won't get into any spoilers and stuff like that, but he does have interesting talking points, which is really cool, because he tends to talk while he's fighting. it's this monologue while he's trying to hack you in two. It makes for an interesting scene. The events take place after episode 3, which I think I mentioned, and there are Jedi on the run, and that's kind of how we get sucked into this. So Master Iko Diodaki, played by Dennis Hesbert, and Padawan Devon Izara, played by Gideon Adlon, are caught in the violence on the planet Janix between the Syndicate crime lords, Maul, and Janix Tactical Defense Force. So that's the police. So the JTF, I think is what they call it. they're essentially police. So it turns into like this kind of not murder mystery, but it turns into this like cop drama, which is kind of cool for Star Wars, because we've had a little bit of that in The Mandalorian with Paul Sung-Hyung Lee as a Republic fighter being a kind of like a cop, like a space cop a little bit. And so they lean into that with this. Captain Brander Lawson, played by Wagner Moura, who's a very talented actor, is the lead investigator and kind of your moral compass to what's going on, because Maul's a bad guy, the Empires are bad, the Jedis are good, but like they're not main characters, they're kind of like secondary characters. And so they focus on Lawson, which is really cool because it gives you like that way of seeing both sides of things. And there's a really good balance between following Maul, following Captain Lawson, his personal stakes, but also his like career, and then the two Jedi as the main characters. And obviously like you side with the Jedi because like we all know they're the good guys and they've been done wrong and they're just trying to survive and they're kind of caught in the middle. But then Lawson is giving these choices between like choosing duty and what's the word we're looking for? Rule following, or following more of a moral compass and like helping the Jedi and that kind of stuff. And the idea is that at this stage after episode 3, the Empire is in control, but it's not directly governing every planet. Like unless there's a reason for them to be there, they've just not gotten to every planet yet. And so with Janix, Maul's presence is pulling them towards Janix. And so there's all this like, well, what happens when they get here? Like, how does that change everything? And so you get this really good idea of like how things work. And you'll be familiar with that kind of drama from Andor and how they treated it.
That's what I was just thinking about too.
Yeah, no, it's very similar in that way. And I feel like they took some pages from Andor and the success of Andor, and you're getting to see both sides of that coin. And I won't spoil anything, but there's definitely some glimpses into some complications in Captain Lawson's past and how his relationship with the Empire has changed over the years. And I don't know what it is yet, but there's hints. And I'm really curious because he's a deeper character than they let on. Anyway, it's a really good show. It's beautifully presented. And like I said, mostly aside from the run cycles, everything is really, really well animated. And the themes that they explore, like with the rule of law, gray areas, and the idea of flaws in some of the Jedi ways are really interesting, because so much of the Jedi Star Wars stuff tends to be either presented as like the Jedis are the good guys, or the Jedi have like, there's always this talk of the Jedis having these flaws and this hubris, but then they just kind of say that, but they never really prove it. They never really go into the details. And I feel like Maul is attacking that, not with specific examples, but certainly specific emotions. Now, at the same time, he's also trying to manipulate the young Jedi. So like, at what point, like, are you taking him with a grain of salt? Are you taking him at his word? Like, how does that work? So anyway, It's good. I'm only 6 episodes out of the 10. So there's a few more to go. And that means that there's going to be more than one dropped. Yeah. So they're dropping 2 per week, and they're only like half an hour. So when Mondays come around, it'll be 7 and 8, and then on the 4th it'll be 9 and 10. So it's like getting an hour, but you don't have to watch it all at once, because they definitely are separate. Like they're not just like to be continued every single time. It's definitely their own little thing. But I like the idea of, hey, it's a 10 episode arc, but we don't want to string this on for 10 weeks because it's only half an hour a piece. So it makes sense to like drop them 2 at a time.
Yeah, that does seem really appealing, actually, just because it's almost like you want to be able to, because of things that have been going on. My wife and I have been trying to watch shows together, but we've been usually able to watch half of 1 hour show, and then we'd have to come back another night, 2 nights later, and finish the other half of the 1 hour show. So getting that one drop of 2 episodes, as you were saying, that seems, more people should do that, I guess is what I'm trying to say. That's a good idea.
Yeah, no, I like it too.
The half hour is a nice, we want to sit down together and have dinner and eat, but then we both have personal projects we want to take care of afterwards, and it gives us that amount of time. So So I saw episode 1 of this so far, and it's.
Oh, did you? Okay, cool.
Oh yeah, I didn't see enough of it to be able to deep dive at all in it, but just visually, just I guess mentioning it because I want to agree with you. I love the painterly effect. It was I knew it had a bit of an artistic feel to it, but I was surprised how manual the brush strokes looked in some of the cases. Like Maul's looks very much like painted on makeup when it zooms in close on him. So I don't know the character well enough to know if that's his actual skin color or if it's meant to be like battle paint or something like that. But
it's tattoos.
Regardless, like the quality of it when you zoom in visually is very, very cool.
Yeah, he's a Zabrak. As far as I know, they're facial tattoos.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, all Zabrak have them, but they all look a little bit different.
Okay. And do you know if are they a red race by nature with black tattoos?
Ooh,
or
that's a really good question.
Are they a black race with red kind of ink? Or
no, I feel like I've seen green Zabrak. I think he's a Zabrak.
Oh, interesting.
I think they just have no, there's all kinds of different colors. I've seen yellow, I've seen skin colored. I think they might actually be more humanoid, and he's got red and black facial tattoos.
Okay, so more of like Caucasian base pigment potentially.
I think more natural, more humanoid natural pigment, but then he's got like crazy tattoos. I mean, he's also like a Sith Lord, so like that tracks. No, there's a Zabrak in. He's a Jedi in one of the Star Wars video game intros, and I don't know that he even has facial tattoos. He might have a few, but he's like got brown skin and brown tattoos, so like it's not like it's crazy.
So humanoid in the sense that like their pigment range could vary, so they're not necessarily
100%. Yeah, they're not all one color.
Interesting.
Moving on to the Internet Minute. This is, of course, brought to you by you. The Citadel Cafe is 100% listener supported. If you're getting value out of the show, please consider putting a little bit of value back in. You can become a member at patreon.com/the Citadel Cafe. Joining at any level will get you an invite to the member-only Discord server, which is, of course, shared with my personal Discord. And you get access to the bonus audio, which we tend to extend at the end of the podcast. So you get extra recordings every single time we sit down. Special thanks to Bean Counter patrons EclipseRM and Smurf588. Thank you so much for your support of this episode. Patron count is at 18. That's steady on from last month. If you would like to be patron number 19, visit patreon.com/the Citadel Cafe. I have a Lego pick, and it's brand new and in line with the May the 4th Star Wars promotional stuff, as well as the Grogu Mandalorian movie coming out soon. That's coming out on the 21st. And this is the Mandalorian N1 Starfighter, which I think showed up in the 4th season of the show. And this is a UCS edition for the Lego series. So it's big. It is set 75442, 1,809 pieces, as well as $350 Canadian, which is not cheap at all, but in line with other Star Wars ships of this size. It's available May 1st, so not quite out yet, but you can pre-order, or rather you can order it on May 1st. And it is pretty large. It is more than 2 feet long, so 26.5 inches long. Goodness. 8.5 inches high, that's on the stand, and then 15.5 inches wide. So it's more than a foot wide as well. Really, really large and really skinny in certain points because of how this is designed. Not a set for me. It's overpriced, I think, for what it is. But considering the upcoming May the 4th stuff and the Star Wars talk this month on the show, I thought it was worth bringing up. And we were just talking about Doug Chiang and his concept designs on episode 1 last time on the podcast, and he designed the N1 Starfighter. So I thought that was kind of cool.
Oh, nice.
That this is like they're kind of right up there in what we were talking about the last couple times on the podcast. And it is really cool to see this at scale. You can get the same thing. You can get the Mandalorian N1 Starfighter as a $70 like minifig version, like the toy, not the giant model. But at this scale, they really can pack a lot of detail and greebling and like different stuff. Really cool block choices and things like that, especially for some of the skinnier bits of the N1.
Yeah, I know it's a spaceship in many respects as well, but it's a very slick, aerodynamic looking vehicle. I mean, like, I don't know if you ever do this. Sometimes I just look at it and go, "Wow, I can't believe they got that much detail into it." And then you said it's over 2 feet long, and my brain went, "Holy smokes!" And then I went, "Oh yeah, okay, that makes sense." Because like what just looked like a little texture at first, my brain didn't clue into the fact that those are studs, and so obviously that would have to be a huge vehicle in order for the studs to be that small in the photo. But it's a very slick looking vehicle.
The all white background photos on Lego websites tend to be a little bit misleading until you see like somebody holding it at a table, like there's a model, like a person doing an advertisement, like posing, like with the actual Lego model. You go, oh yeah, no, that's longer than he is wide. That makes sense. Like it's really cool. Because the thing is, like, with these UCS models, they always include like a little figurine and a plaque, like, so there's a minifig in there, but the minifig, it's not necessarily minifig scale like that. That's much larger than, because the N1s, like in real life, in terms of human scale, they're longer than a car, but they're not a heck of a lot bigger than a car in terms of like, it's like getting into a Corvette, like, right. Like, I mean, I feel like X-Wings are much bigger, whereas these are smaller in terms of the scale. And if memory serves, like, I think they were actually designed to be atmospheric ships. So like, that's why they're aerodynamic compared to X-Wings, which are more aerodynamic than a TIE fighter, but they're still not the best aerodynamic kind of design for fighting in air. Like, they're more spaceships than they are. Whereas I don't know what show addressed it, or maybe it was a book, but TIE fighters are terrible in the atmosphere. It's like shooting through the air with kites on your wings. Like, they're awful.
I gotta imagine they'd just be horribly, like, incredibly fuel inefficient.
Yes.
In the atmosphere as well.
Well, that wraps up this episode of the Citadel Cafe. You can get more information about the show and links to some of the things that Stephen and I talked about at thecitadelcafe.com. The music for the show was composed by Kevin MacLeod, and you can email us at thecitadelcafe@gmail.com. Thanks again for that email this week. That was really, really fun. You can find the show by name on social media. Subscribe for free on all major podcasting platforms, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube. You know the drill. The RSS feed and show notes are available on our website, thecitadelcafe.com. Word of mouth is the easiest way to support the show. Just tell a friend about the Citadel Cafe and where they can go to listen to it. My name is Joel Duggan, and I will point you towards my other podcast, The Spawn Chunks, which is all about Minecraft. It's available on all major podcasting platforms on Mondays. There's a video version on Spotify and on YouTube. We talk about all the latest news from Minecraft, some editorial, some discussion, and we've got a big one coming up. We've got episode 400 coming up on May 4th, as a matter of fact, and that's going to be an all-email episode. So if you want to email the show, it's spawnchunkmail@gmail.com. Include 400 in the subject line so we know what episode you're writing in for, and we'll try to include you if we can in the all-email episode. And it's not just Minecraft. You write us about our favorite Ninja Turtle, our favorite pizza topping, like whatever you want to know. Within reason, we'd like to try to get to as many of those as we can. It's kind of like a fun get to know the hosts. Maybe you're new to the show kind of thing. We do these things on the big round numbers. It's a fun thing to do.
Nice. Remember to do your creative sign-off, though. Remember the creative sign-off if you're going to write in.
Totally, right? You can follow me online at Joel Duggan on social media. Very easy to find. And of course, Joel Duggan on Twitch, where I stream Tuesday through Friday at 9 a.m. Atlantic and Saturdays at 1. I will tease that I have a new Lego set that's going to be coming back on Fridays. So most of the time I'm playing Minecraft, but on Fridays I will be doing some more Lego sometime soon. Stephen, where can people find you online?
On Blue Sky at StephenESC, or on Mastodon at StephenESC@mstdn.ca. And again, that's Stephen with a PH.
You've been listening to the Citadel Cafe, where we are fast, easy, and cheap, but you can only pick two.